Hello, my name is Hasan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? From Animal Farm by George Orwell. This is how we're going to start this shorts episode today. And I quote, "Now, as it turned out, the rebellion was achieved much earlier and more easily than anyone had expected. In past years, Mr. Jones, although a hard master, had been a capable farmer, but of late he had fallen on evil days. He had become much disheartened after losing money in a lawsuit and had taken to drinking more than was good for him. For whole days at a time, he would lounge in his Windsor chair in the kitchen, reading the newspapers, drinking, and occasionally feeding Moses on crusts of bread soaked in beer. His men were idle and dishonest. The fields were full of weeds, and the buildings wanted roofing, the hedges were neglected, and the animals were underfed." Close quote. What should we take from that for leaders, right? From George Orwell's allegorical tale, Animal Farm, about the rise of the animals, the overthrow of human beings, and of course, the tender mercies of animalism. Or maybe that's Marxism. Well, one of the things we can take from this example of Mr. Jones, almost right at the beginning of the book, is this. Mr. Jones, for a while, was doing pretty well. He was running the farm. The animals were happy and things were going well. And then Mr. Jones fell on hard times. Mr. Jones neglected his garden. Mr. Jones neglected his competency, and he neglected his merit. There's a lot of talk about merit these days and whether or not we actually live in a meritocracy. And of course, there are people who cannot get ahead, who insist, even though they have credentials, that they are somehow being discriminated against. However, they've forgotten a few things, and I'll list them in no particular order. The first thing that people forget, just as Jones did, is that merit is only earned when you work, whether the rewards come immediately or over the course of a lifetime or never in a lifetime. Merit is only a proxy for competence. Your job as an adult, as a human, as a fully functioning, mature individual, is to prepare the way so that competent people, whether they're competent people you make, as in children, competent people you work with, as in fellow employees, or competent people you lead, so that they can become more competent. And your job is also to encourage the less competent and less meritorious folks to move on from whatever game they may be currently playing. Whether that's the farming game in the case of Mr. Jones, or the fame game on TikTok that a lot of you play right now. Merit picks the game. Merit always picks the game, but so do your interests, your talents, and your skills. But merit's a big one. But merit has zero control over the outcome of the game, much to your dismay, and mine, of course. And all anyone sees is the outcome. You know, that audience that's clapping for you, that's saying and telling you that you should get more, or that you deserve more, or that you're owed more. Yeah, they only ever see the outcome. They don't see the work. And by the way, just as a side note to this point, they don't care about the work. They just care about the outcome. Merit can decline if you don't keep your skills sharp. And unfortunately, for some of you out here listening, some people not you, of course, if you listen to this shorts episode, some people are lazy. That's an old school word. And we don't like to use that word anymore. But when you combine laziness and a sense of entitlement, a sense that you're owed the outcomes that you seek, well, guess what? You're going to be malignant around merit. Finally, merit is resilient in the face of circumstances. This is what Jones forgot. Second place exists for a reason, and you have nothing else to lose if you wind up in second but your excuses. Mr. Jones failed to understand all of these 5 points, and of course, in a moment of weakness, lost his farm, lost his money, and lost his employees, and finally, well, he lost his mind. There's a lesson from that allegory in there for leaders everywhere. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.